This episode sponsored by Lake Monster Details, producing the Don's Light and Magic Legacy line of parts, offering upgrade parts and decals for accuracy, special effects, and lighting. Visit www.lakemonsterdetails.com and make it glow. Also sponsored by GCals, producing aftermarket replacement decals and custom quality graphics for your favorite spaceships. Visit www.gcals.company.site and add some personalization to your sci-fi models today.
What's up, fellow modelers? Will here. Welcome to the Engine Share. You may have noticed that I've changed the title. I've shortened it a little bit to just say the Engine Share for a couple reasons. The main one being because I want to get into showing some other interests that I have. Now, I'll definitely still be doing the models. You're still going to find the builds here. I'll be doing those. There will be a little bit of a gap coming up because I've got some moving that I'm going to be doing. And it's going to take a little bit to get things set up there and get back to doing the models, but I will still be doing the model building, so don't worry about that. But everybody else that's here for other things that I've been doing lately on the channel, such as the Airwolf videos I've been putting out, I do have some other things coming up, so please stay tuned for that as well. As a matter of fact, this coming up week, I'm going to be going down to Las Vegas, New Mexico, which is only about an hour drive from me. And I will be doing a film location for Red Dawn from 1984 was filmed there. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in it. But if you're just here for the models, that's okay. That's what we're going to be working on this video. This will be episode 4 of the 1350 Bird of Prey build. I got everything I needed to do the adjustable baffle kit from Lake Monster Details. Cass got that over to me. So we've got a couple things to look at with this. This is where we'll be at the end of the video. We'll have this fully assembled and installed. Turned out really nice, and I'm very pleased with it. So we'll get to working on that. So give me a minute. I'll put you on the bench. We'll get to work. All right, so here's all the parts that come with the kit. You've got a bundled set of what are referred to as baffle plates. And these baffle plates, we're going to talk about these here in a minute once we get this together, but these are an improved set of baffle plates that Cass has made. He's done a little bit of work to this to make it more accurate and correct, aside from the DLM parts. So we'll take more of a look at that. The only thing really to note about these is that these are numbered. They're going to have a number. I don't know if you'll be able to make it out on there, but let me see if I focus this, if you can make it out. Well, you'll notice that's number 10. So these are all numbered individually for the position that they go in. So that's great. That way, if you drop one or you mix them up, you just make sure you put them in the right order according to the number. So you got those. You've got these are your wing blades that are going to attach to these other pieces here, which are your wing rack parts that these are referred to as wing racks. So we're going to be inserting those, and then you've got the top baffle rack piece, and you've got the bottom baffle rack piece. So this is the piece that all these parts can go into, and then you've also got these 4 brass pins here. Now, some of the older versions of this kit, if you'd gotten the DLM part before, I believe they may have been aluminum or something, but these are brass now. So we got all those parts, and then we've also got our decals, and we'll talk more about those in a minute here as well. So first thing that it wants us to do, I'm going to put these to the side a little bit more. First thing the instructions want us to do is put together the baffle rack and the baffle pieces as well. So we're going to start putting that together. I've actually done this once already with the other part that we're going to talk about here in a minute, the old DLM part, that I'm going to show as a comparison here shortly. And once you start putting these together, they actually go together pretty easily. So the only thing you have to do is the first and last part they don't go on yet. All right. All these other parts, now remember the rest of these are, well, all these are numbered. Even the first part up here is numbered 1. So in case you set them aside and you get them mixed up, no big deal. Just look for the number on the part. So what we're going to do is start putting these in place. Take number 2, and number 2 is going to go in the second slot from the front. We need to leave that first slot open for this front piece here. So I'm just going to get it in position, slide it in. Same thing with the next one. Actually, once you get a couple of these in place, it's a little bit easier to hold this and then just start sliding these in. They go in pretty easy. And I'm not going to glue these till I get them all in place, and that's just something I don't want to do. I just want to make sure I get these all in place and they all look good before I put the glue on the bottom edge here to hold these in place. I don't want to get them all in, and then that way if you make a mistake, let's say you accidentally mix a blade up and you put it in the wrong spot, you can kind of take a look at this when you're done and make sure it looks good and that everything's where it needs to be. And then we can put the glue on it. Now, Cass does recommend using a medium CA glue, medium being referring to the viscosity of it, how thin or thick it is. I've actually only got a, I think a regular, let me take a look here. Well, I do have a medium. So I've got a thin, which I may use instead, but I've also got a medium extreme power glue here that I'll use. But let's just continue inserting these. You can see how easy this gets after you get a couple in here and they just pop right into place. You can just kind of roll right along and get these in here. And then we've got that last one left open for this back part. So we've got everything in place here. Now we'll just lay these down and kind of look at, let's move these to the side, kind of look at the shape, and the shape is correct to where it should be. You can kind of see it. Now, one thing I did want to show, Cass sent me over one of the old DLM parts as kind of a comparison, and I've already got that together here, and you can kind of see the difference here. Let me zoom in a little bit. I don't know if it's going to get a little grainy with this digital zoom, but you can kind of see the difference there. These parts, this is the DLM part, and you can see the shape on this isn't quite correct. Let me turn this around the right way so they're the same. You can see that the shape on this isn't quite correct. It's not as smooth as the part that Cass has corrected. So now you've got that nice smooth curve to it instead of this kind of slanted, squared off shape that you have on the old DLM design. So that's one major difference between these. If you've gotten the DLM part before, you may have looked at it and said, it's not quite looking right. And maybe that deterred you from getting the new part when it comes out. But just know that Cass has corrected this. As you can see, it looks really good. It's nice and smooth like it should be. And the only thing left to do with this part is to take the top piece here. And we're going to have to work these around a little bit to get these to kind of fall into place on this plate. That's another reason why I didn't want to glue the bottom yet. I want to make sure that I can get this to fall into place. All right, so I got this together. This top part is a little testy. The easiest way I found to get it to line up is just start at one end and work it, and then just fan these blades a little bit with your thumb, just to kind of get them to kind of spread out and fall into the grooves on the other side of this top piece. And then took a little bit of pressure as it went along to get it to come down. It finally came into place. That's why I don't want to do the glue until after I get this kind of together, and then I can just kind of put the glue on it after that. So once I did finally get that part in there and check to make sure that all these blades, you can see there, make sure they're all evenly spaced. And once I was satisfied with the way that looked, I just took some glue. I took my medium glue here and just put a bead along the bottom edge on each side here. And to speed it up, I hit it with this Instaset. You don't have to do that, but I just did it just so I didn't have to sit here and wait for the glue to set. But put a little bead there, and then for this top part, I actually took some of my thin and just put a little bit on each side and let it kind of run down the side of this top piece and kind of settle into the fins a little bit right there, and then put a little bit across the front and back part right here. Don't worry about it if, like on this one here, I got a bit of a mess there with the glue. You're not going to see that because remember these parts here, these other parts have to go on yet, and that'll cover that up. And we're going to be painting all this anyway, so you're not going to see all that. Now at this point here, we're pretty much done with this part for now. We'll come back and we'll add these other two parts on in a little bit. So the next thing we're going to do, let me move my decals out the way, I don't want to mess those up, is we're going to work on these other parts here, the wing blades. So what you're going to need is, you're going to need, it doesn't matter which one of these you use, they're not particular to either side, but what you do want to notice is that on these there's a, let me get close and focus here so you can see this. There's a beveled edge you can see on this one side, it's beveled. So you're going to want to be, you're going to want to insert your blades from the beveled edge side towards the other end, because this is where your stop, there's a stop on here, so when you put these blades in, you slide them, they stop, and that's fully seated. So you want to make sure when you put these blades in that you're fully seating them all the way to the stop. So beveled edge out, blade's going to go in from this direction, and you're just going to slide in until the bevel, until it stops. So that's what I'm going to work on. So let's see. Now again, you want to start with the second groove on, oops, sorry, let me focus my camera back now that I'm back down here. You want to start with the second groove, not the first one, because you want to leave room for this front piece. So I'm just going to take it and put it in there and slide it in until it stops. And what I want to try to do here is wait until I've got these all in place before I put my glue on it, which I don't know if that's going to work out because these may try to pop out of place. Nope, it's not going to work like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit, and we'll use the medium. Just going to take a little bit of the glue, and for right now I'm just going to put it on this far end here. Alright. I'll start putting these in place. Remember, just use the far end. Get a little bit too much in some of these. Now these blades, they're all exactly the same. They are marked R and L for right and left, but I asked Cass about it. He did say that these are all identical, even though they say right and left on them. So if you mix them up, you're really not going to hurt anything. The main thing he says is just make sure that you fully seat these all the way up to that stop edge. And the only other thing that Cass recommends is once we get these together, you're going to do a little light sanding across the top of these. They've got just kind of a wavy pattern on the top of them from where they were laser cut, I guess. and it leaves a little bit of a pattern on there. So if you just take a little bit of, I think I've got 320 or something like that grit sandpaper. I'm just going to lightly sand it just to remove that pattern a little bit. All right, let's see. All right, so we got that in place. I'm gonna I'll drop a little more glue on this side now. Those are in place. I'm just gonna let this thin set kind of run down in here. All right. That's pretty much it for that part. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll come back and see where we're at. All right, so I've got the two separate sides with the blades glued on, and they're ready to go. You can see I've already done this one side here and put the blades in place. So, and they slide in and out. So the way we're going to do this is you just take the blades, and you want to make sure that the outer blade on here actually goes in between the baffles. So it goes in behind this first baffle. So I'm just going to stick it right there, and you can see you just kind of got to work these in, and they'll drop into place just like that. So you can see that the blade is behind this baffle plate on both sides. That's where you want it. And then you just want to make sure these alternate in between on your fins here. All right. Now I will suggest that you put a little oil in here to help work this in. I've got this 3-in-1 oil, so I'm just going to run a little bit across it. Just kind of drop it in there just to get this in place. It's going to make it a little bit easier to just kind of work everything in. So what we want to do is we need to get this open part on the blades lined up with the square holes in the baffle plates. So I'm just going to work these around, and should be just like that. Hold this up to the light and see if it's lined up all the way through, and if it's not, you just work it around a little bit till you get it where you need it. All right, and then once you got that lined up, I don't know if I can put oil on here. Might make a little bit of a mess. And we're going to have to do a little bit of cleanup before we paint. Otherwise, the oil is going to possibly cause some problems with painting. So, but it's kind of a necessary evil right now to make this a little bit easier. And we take our pins, and hopefully I've got enough oil in here where I don't need to put more oil on these pins. We're going to put it in there. Kind of work this baffle plate around. And I might have to put a little more oil. Yeah, there it goes. All right. And then what I'll do is I'll press it on the table here just lightly and work these baffle plates. And until we get that to pop out the other side here, like so. You can see it sticking out right there, and it's still sticking out on this side here. So that's one in place. And get these lined up. And I promise you that using a little oil on this makes it a lot easier, because I did this side without any oil on it, and it was pretty difficult. So again, I'm just going to take this, put a little pressure on the tabletop, push it through as I work the plate around, and there we go. Boy, a little bit of oil on it makes that so much easier, I promise you. So we got this in place. Now let's see, make sure these move freely, and they do. Matter of fact, this side moves better than this side. I ended up spraying some WD-40 on this side. I think I'm going to drop a little bit of this 3-in-1 in here and help with that, as it seems to do. The 3-in-1 seems to do a better job than the WD-40 at giving us a little lubrication so that it slides in and out a little easier. There we go. So yeah, that moves a lot better with the 3-in-1 oil. So there we go. Those are in place. Close this up. And we have to do a little bit of, like I said, a little bit of cleanup on this before we paint. Fortunately, we're only painting the outside edges of this, so we don't have to worry about the oil in the middle here, it being in between the baffle plates. It's not going to interfere with painting the part that we need to paint, which is this outside edges. So we've got those in, and that's how they work. They slide in and out nicely. So next step now is to get these other parts. Well, actually, before we do that, what I need to do is put a little bit of glue. I'm just going to take my medium. I would not use the thin to do what I'm about to do, because you run the risk of this thin seeping in and actually gluing to the baffles on the inside. So I would stick to like a medium to do this, but make sure our pins are about even on each side. And I'm going to take some of this glue and just run it around the outside edge there. I'm going to dab up the extra with a little bit of a paper towel, because I only want the minimum amount in here to hold these brass pins in place. I'll do the same thing on this side. Just making sure you don't get any of this glue on the baffle plate here. I'll take this paper towel and we'll wipe off any excess. Make sure this still moves good. All right, good there. A little bit of oil on it. And then what you can do is you'll take a piece of sandpaper, and this is I think this is like 320 or something like that, and you just take it and you sand these outside ends as flush as you can get it. You can see on this one here, I've got it pretty close, not quite completely flush. It's pretty flush on this side. I got to do a little bit more on this side, and then I'll start working on these. So I'm going to work on getting these sanded down before we move on to our next step. So give me a minute and we'll be back. All right, so I've got this last part put on. I've got the last blades and the baffle part put on the front here. And I kind of made a mistake a little earlier. I had said leave a slot on this blade plate here, but you don't really need to, because basically what you do is you take your last couple of blade assemblies, and they attach to the very outer edge of this plate here. So they're just going to attach to the outer edge. So before, when I had said leave a gap, you don't, or leave a spot, you don't need to. These attach to the very outer part, and that covers up these where your rods go through here. It's going to cover those up. And then we've got this part here that's going to attach on the outside as well. So that's how the final assembly goes on it. Now, before you put those on, you do have to make a decision. These do come etched, and I tried working with it just a little bit. I painted them, and then I kind of scratched out, or I used my blade on my X-Acto knife to kind of scratch out where I needed those lighter colored lines to show up. And I did that, and then I flipped it over on the other side and I put the decal on, and I actually ended up liking the decal better. I think they turned out really well. Let me see if I can focus this here. They look a lot closer to the studio model than what I tried to do on the back side of this with the etch part. Just didn't turn out very well. So what I did with this was I used the decal on it, and I wanted to do a little more weathering to it. So I put the decal on, and then I clear coated the decal, and then I came over it with, I used a little bit of this Pueblo, Folk Art Pueblo that I've got here, and I mixed in a little bit of this Ceramcoat brown iron oxide with it to kind of darken it up just a little bit. And I think it looks pretty good. It looks pretty close to what I see in the pictures of the studio model. And it kind of blends in with that orangish color that's already on here that Cass already has on the decals. So I did that, and I just added a little bit of weathering to it. And then I took a little black and thinned that out, a little black, my enchanted black here from Deco Art, and thinned that out. And again, I added a couple little streaks on that. And I think it looks pretty good. It looks pretty close to what the studio model looks like. So I've got those in place. I'm gonna put these rear baffle plates in place, or the rear blades in place. And then I'm going to put this last baffle piece in place, and it'll be done. So this will all be together. But yeah, I just want to make sure though that you realize that the etched part, if you're going to paint it, you use the etched side. But if you're going to use the decals, flip it over and put the decals on the smooth side, is what the directions call for. So, and then make sure you are going to want to clear coat this after you apply the decal. It just, preserves it some. And then also, if you're going to do any weathering over top of it like I did, you want to make sure that you protect that decal before you start doing any of that. So put the decal on, I clear coated it, I did some weathering, and then I clear coated it again because this is craft paint. So, it will run if it comes into contact with moisture. So that's what I've done with it. I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to attach these last two blades to the outside here. And then I'm going to get this last baffle plate in place, and we'll come back and take a look at it. So I got this all cobbled together now. Installed the kit into the modified bird of prey part, and then it was just a matter of attaching this back half, reattaching it, and putting my other parts back in place. I do have quite a bit of filling and seam work to do now. Because I did have to tear this apart because I didn't think to look ahead and realize how much of a modification I had to make to this. But you can see it's all in place now. And one thing I am going to have to look at though is this is going to be lit up on the inside. So I may have to put something over these ribs to light block so I don't get any light coming out through the fins themselves on the baffles here. So. But it's turned out pretty well. I like it, and the wings are positionable. So we'll get those wings installed, and we'll be getting pretty close to finishing up. Like I said, I've got quite a bit of work to do here. Some of this didn't come off cleanly when I had to take it apart. And then of course this has to be painted to match this top part of the baffles here themselves. The baffles themselves, I'm not going to worry about painting. I don't think you really need to. When I look at the studio model, this is kind of already the grayish color that's on the studio model. The only thing I might do is take some more of that mixture. I think when I do my rusting on this, I'm going to use a little bit of this Pueblo and mix it with some of this brown metal iron oxide like I did on the front of the baffles here that you can see. And I'll probably take a little bit of that and maybe do some weathering on here like I see on the studio model. And that's about it. As far as needing to paint these though, I don't think it's necessary. Just take you some sandpaper to it like was mentioned, and get those sanded, and it actually looks pretty good just as it is. So but that's pretty much it, guys, as far as the conversion kit here goes. So I'm gonna be working on some more of this this week. I'm off, so I'm gonna try to get some more of this done and maybe get another video out, but I've got some other things on my plate too that I'm working on. In addition to trying to get some packing done, we're going to be moving the end of June. So when that happens, it's going to be a while before I can get a video out for our model building, because I'm going to have to move back to my house and get things set up there. I'm looking to get a workshop built, so that's going to take a little bit of time too. So, but next weekend I will be at Wonderfest in where are we going? Louisville, Kentucky. I'll be at the Wonderfest in Louisville, Kentucky, and looking to check out some great builds there and learn some skills. I know Bill Krause is doing a presentation there for scratch building, and a lot of other great presenters going on there. I'm looking forward to seeing. So if you're going to be at Wonderfest, hopefully, if you see me, give me a wave, flag me down. I like to meet people. So. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you again to Cass over at Lake Monster Details for sending over this baffle kit and dealing with me on it. But it's turned out really good. I like it. It's almost like a little model kit of its own when you put it together, but it's definitely worth it to get those positionable wings on it. So again, thank you to Cass over there, and thank you to my other sponsor Gus over at GCals. Appreciate all his support as well. Like I said, I will be getting something from Gus here at some point, because I will need to get replacement decals for this, because the ones that came with it are pretty much toasted. But anyway, check both those guys out. As far as this kit, I believe Cass said that he is planning on having this available on Colt TV Man and on his own website the end of June. So keep an eye out for that. But anyway, guys, appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep modeling.